Okay, so you're going to open Illustrator and you're going to make a blank document. Letter size is fine. So if you already have it open and need to make a document, File New, Command N on the Mac, Control N on the PC. So let's hit M for Mary on the keyboard. And that will choose the Marquee Tool. Now down here, I just want to pick a color, so I'll double click here and choose a color I like. I'll hit OK. I don't want a stroke, so I'm going to go here to none and say no stroke, and you can see, there you go. Oh no, I want color, but I want the stroke to be none. There we go, that's correct. So now it's saying no stroke or outline, and this is my color. So I'm going to drag out a square, and I've got the shift down, and now I have a perfect square. Now notice that there are all these little circles in here, and if you click them, you can round the edges. And you can go so far as to make it a circle. There we go. I don't want to go that far. You just want kind of rounded edges. Now, if you go back to that tool, you'll see this little triangle. If you click and drag, you can see there is one that already has rounded edges. But then I wouldn't get to show you that cool trick. Okay. Now, I just accidentally clicked on the background, and this box comes up. If you click and drag, you can draw a square. If you click once, you get this little box that's asking you to put what size you want in it. We don't need that for now. All right, I'm going to go back to the toolbar. I'm going to click and drag to the ellipse tool, or L on the keyboard. And same thing, I'm going to hold the shift down. Let's see. And that looks about right. Okay, so we've got two shapes, and I'll select them both so you can see, how they intersect. I'm going to go to the Pathfinder. If you don't have it open, it's under Window, Window, and these are in alphabetical order, Pathfinder. I want this one right here, Unite. So I'm going to click the one that says Unite, and now it's made it one piece. It's all one piece. You can see now it's one piece. I'm going to undo it, and I'll show you another way, and that is if you hit Shift and M on the keyboard, you can go to the Shape Builder tool, and then you just click down and you drag up, and you can also unite it. So as you see it highlighting and I click and drag up, it's going to make that all one piece. Either way works. Good to know multiple ways. All right, so we're making an octopus. So let's go ahead and go to it's probably going to be the line tool, which is the /. And under the line tool, of course, there are other tools, and you know that because you see the tiny triangle right here telling you there's more tools under here. So let's grab the arc tool. And we'll click and drag. Now if your arc's going the wrong way, you can use your arrow keys on the keyboard to make it more of an arc or less of an arc. I think that looks pretty good. And then I'm going to grab the black arrow. So it's really thin, it doesn't have any color. So I want it to have the same color as this, so I just clicked it here. This is a stroke. So when you have a line, it is just a line, is just a stroke. It's not a shape, it's not a closed object, it's just one line. And it's very thin, so we're going to go Window, Stroke. If you don't have it up, bring it on up under your menu. Alright, so now you can make it thicker. With it selected, you can make this thicker. Oof, that's a little too much. That doesn't look too bad. Now, all right, I'm going to round the edges. Now, if you don't have that, where you find it is across from stroke, where these are, you say show. If yours looks like this, you click and say show options, and there they are. So you can make it the right size, give it a cap end. Now, so he's going to need 4, so I'll just hold the option on the Mac or the Alt down on the PC, and I'll drag each leg out. There we go. And I'll just rotate them. I'll get them to fit. I might use the arrow keys because you can move things incrementally to make them a little more perfect. So there we go. Now you might need more or less than 20 points for your information because maybe your initial shape is bigger and it needs to be thicker. Maybe it's your initial shape is smaller and these need to be thinner. But now we need these legs on the other side, and instead of trying to copy each one and flip it over one by one, we're going to select them all. So either shift click them all, hold the shift down and click each one, or you can click and drag a box around them. So now I have them all. I'm going to hit O for out on the keyboard, and it's going to select a tool in your toolbar called the Reflect tool. I can actually double click on that tool. Now make sure to preview selected or you won't see what it's doing. So it's flipping it over. So that's good. We don't want to just flip it over, we want to make a copy. So hit copy right here. So vertical, we want it vertical, reflected, and we want to copy. Now don't touch it, just hold down the arrow keys and you can see it moving incrementally to the other side. If you hold the shift down, it'll move faster. So that's just an easier way to move the whole thing than trying to grab them all and not deselect them and move them. All right, so we want to combine all this. So if I select it, where's my Pathfinder? Let me get there. Window. No, it shows us up somewhere. There it is. I'm going to hit Unite, and it looks like that. That isn't right. I'm going to hit Command Z or Control Z if you're on the PC. And the problem is these are lines and this body is a shape. So we need to make these lines shapes. So select them. Oops, see, I accidentally grabbed the body, but I can hold the shift down and click it and unselect it. Shift add or shift unselect. Okay, so now I have just the legs and not the body. That's what I want. I'm going to say object expand, and this little thing's going to come up. Expand, fill, and stroke. Yep, that's what you want to do. So right now, see that it's lines right here, and I'm going to hit OK, and it's going to be shapes. There you go. See? They're all little circles. So now I'm going to hold that shift down and grab his body. Now when I hit Unite, it's combined all into one. So I want to copy him, so I'm going to hold the option down on the Mac. And note that I get that extra little arrow. And on the PC, it's Alt. So I'm going to option and then drag, and it'll make a copy. So I have 2 of them. Awesome. Now, if you don't have them up, bring up your swatches. And again, same thing. Window at the top. Drag down to swatches. And grab the circle tool, the ellipse tool, L on your keyboard. And choose a new color. any way you want. You can go in this color window, you can double click on this and choose color. You can choose a color out of the swatches. And then hold this shift down and oof, drag some circles. I got to change that color. It's too close to the octopus. You don't want it to be the same color as your octopus. There we go. I like that. That's good. Make sure those swatches are up. All right. Now you're going to make a pattern of these little circles. Oh, wow, it sounds complicated, but it's not. All you do is after you've drawn them is you take and you grab them with the selection tool, the black arrow, and you drag it. See how it turns to a plus? Let me zoom in so you can see. So these are selected. When I drag them, I get a little plus, and there's a tiny little indication of the pattern I made. I don't need the original circles. I'm going to grab my copy and click on the circles, and there we are. It's filled with my circle pattern, and I can put this back over the octopus body. If I don't like the way it looks, I can also say window transparency, and I can try different modes. Like oh, that one looks kind of better. I don't know what'll happen. You just have to experiment. It depends on what each of the colors you had were. I actually like soft light. I totally changed the color, but I like it. If you need to lower the opacity, you can move this slider. I'm going to leave mine up because when I change it to soft light, it's kind of a subtle effect. And see, they're still purple. It's just the blending mode I chose. All right, I'm going to grab this background octopus, and I'm going to give it a little oomph. I'm going to say Effect, Stylize, Drop Shadow, and you'll get a window up. Make sure Preview is selected. All right, don't make it crazy super heavy drop shadow. People like to do that, but note that you can, make the opacity of your drop shadow less. You can spread it out more. You can blur it more. It is up to you, but I think I went a little crazy. I'm going to pull mine back a little. Want it to be nice and subtle. You can also change the color of your drop shadow, but let's not do that. I'm going to hit OK. And now I have a nice little drop shadow on here. Let's just take a look at a palette called Appearance, Window Appearance. And if you take a look at your appearance, if you're wondering, well, how do I get these effects on and off if I put them on? Here's my drop shadow in the appearance palette. Here's my fill color. I can delete the drop shadow. There's a little garbage can right here. But suppose you have the drop shadow on there and you want to change it, you can double click the drop shadow. And now I can still keep editing the same drop shadow. Make it darker and spread out more. So any kind of effect you put on and your fill and your stroke, they all are here in the appearance palette. So I will take a second to drag this back up over. There we go. He's looking good. He's looking awfully cartoonish. All right, so let's give this little fella some eyes. I'm going to hit D on the keyboard for default, and that changes to black stroke, white fill. I'm going to hit L for the ellipse tool. I'm going to hold the shift down, and there we go. I've drawn one eye. Now I think that needs a thicker stroke. Sometimes stroke comes up here too, depending on how you have your Illustrator set up. I'm just going to do it here. If you don't have this, again, you can say window stroke. There's my stroke right there, and you can change it there. So draw one little eye first. Maybe that's a bit much. Okay, now I'm still on the circle tool, but if I hold down the Command or Control key, it gives me the black arrow. So I can click on the background and deselect it and let go, and I'm back to the ellipse tool. I'm going to switch it so black is the fill color and the hotkey is Shift X. I don't want a stroke anymore, so I'm going to say no stroke. So this is the color palette I have in my toolbar. Hold that shift down and draw a circle and bring it up. And then I'm going to deselect it. And now I want just a little catch light. So I'm going to make this white. And I'll make a little tiny white circle. So I'm holding the shift down. There we go, and moving it by using the shift and the arrow keys, but you can click it with the mouse. It was just particularly small. So I got one eye that looks pretty fun. I'll select it. I'll hold down the Option or the Alt, and I'll also hold down the shift because note, see how it jumps? It keeps it to 45-degree angles when you hold down the shift. And since you want it straight across, if you hold down the shift, it'll let you do that. If you don't hold down the shift, I mean, it can go anywhere and could be slightly off. So just hold down the shift to keep it perfectly aligned with the other eye. Then select them both. Oh, they're a little big, but that's okay. I can size them down. What big eyes you have, Mr. Octopus. So there we go. So save this. So you'll save this file, save as, and you can give it any name you want. I'll just say Octo. And I'm saving it as an AI. So AI is the vector-based format, meaning that, see the little points? This image is drawn by points being put out and lines being drawn between the points. We're now going to export it and tell the program to convert it to another format entirely. So we're going to say File, Export, Export As, and down here I'll choose JPEG. And I noticed this use artboards. So if you had something where the color went outside the artboard for a bleed, if you're like, what's a bleed? Don't worry right now. You will learn in the future. But if you had something where the color went outside of your document and you didn't want that showing up in your JPEG, that's when you would click Use Artboards. But right now our little Octo is just one little guy on the page, and he doesn't take up the whole page, so I'm not going to click that. So I'm going to hit Export. Oh, you got me. I already exported an Octo. We're doing another. Okay. So after we hit Export, we get this up, Color Model, CMYK. CMYK is for print, and in fact, maybe I will upload one to CMYK, but first let me do it the right way. RGB, red, green, blue, that's your screen color. That's what you work in, and that's what model your computer uses for creating color. So CMYK is for print. RGB is what you want though. And 300 is great. That's nice high resolution, and you could send it to a printer and it would print out okay. So you need so many little pixels in an inch to make it print without looking jaggedy. So I'm going to hit OK. And I'm going to say File, Export, Export As, and do a JPEG, Octo. Let me call this Octo 2. Export. This time I'm going to leave it CMYK and I'll hit OK. So I will upload both of those to my Flickr and you will be able to see the difference. Okay, so that's our little octopus fella.